Welcome to a brand new Bob Sullivan show presented by KB Building Services. Tonight on this episode, I will have Mike McKnight from Channel 6 News, investigative reporter, live from Zio's Pizza in Omaha. Please check it out.
This is a typical day.
Well, I guess we should have done it on the weekend. Or actually, every day must be pretty
Every day
interesting.
is. This phone never stops ringing.
Welcome into a brand new Bob Sullivan show presented by KB Building Services. Today, we are at Zio's Pizza with Mike McKnight, investigative reporter from the Channel 6 News. Mike, how you doing?
Very good. Busy as usual.
That's as always.
Yeah.
I don't know if the name Bob Sullivan, you remember it, but you were my baseball coach.
I was?
Yeah,
No kidding.
in fall ball about 12 years ago. So, the strike zone fall ball team, Mike McKnight, you were my coach.
Well, I probably wasn't much of a coach. But somehow it was one of those things, the last person to volunteer gets the job, right?
I've been one of those coaches for those fall ball teams, so I know the feelings.
Okay.
You've been investigative reporter for, was it 35 years?
No, try 43.
43 years, okay.
This will be in January, 43 years with Channel 6.
Wow. So I'm assuming that, I guess give me a typical day. You said that this is a typical day.
Started with text at 7:30. People text me with story ideas, emails. I start checking with news sources, working ahead on a story. Just every day, I usually have to turn at least 4 or 5 stories a week. Of various kinds. You say investigative reporting. Well, there was Walter Cronkite who said every reporter is an investigative reporter. And so that's kind of the way I take it. I just kind of look, in my situation, I kind of look for things that are interesting, things you might talk about around the water cooler, sitting here at Zio's type of thing, and usually I like to work on what we call six on your side. People need help, paid for things that they didn't get, track down anybody who feels that the system let them down, that sort of thing. I always say, I don't know if you remember you might be too young to remember All the President's Men and Deep Throat.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm too young to remember it, but I'm aware of the movie.
Okay, well, there was a line in there, Deep Throat.
Yeah.
Right? Well, there's a deep throat in everybody. Somebody out there wants to leak information.
For every story you get, how many duds do you have?
How many what?
Duds.
There are a few that just don't. Like one recently just didn't pan out. I shot it and I just did my background. Sometimes I shoot it and then I start doing some research to see. I want to get the person on camera, how they react, make sure they don't change their mind, and they'll do the research. Most time it pans out, but sometimes they say, well, there's really not enough here for a story. So it's just a judgment call. I think 43 years of experience. I can make that call, or I'll sometimes go to the bosses and say, what do you think? And get other opinions, and then either have enough for a story or maybe not.
What is, for stories, what is the, I guess, where do you draw the line as far as, okay, this is something you should probably go to the police for, or do you draw a line on anything as far as story goes?
Sometimes I tell people, file a police report, because that gives me more substance for my story. If you're willing to file a police report, then you're probably not lying to me, or you've got your ducks in a row. If you want to go that far, because people aren't going to file a false police report. So that kind of gives me more background to go on, more substance for my story. A police report was filed, that type of thing. So a lot of times I'll ask them to do that.
Is there, have you ever had, is there a story, there's these documentaries on Hulu and Netflix now called
Making a Murder, that kind of thing.
The story that haunts us. Is there one that still you think about today?
No, not really. I mean, I've done 10,000 stories.
Okay.
It's over 20. Just nothing that really haunts me. I think back every time there's an execution, because I was a witness to an execution of Walking Liliote. So when I see movies about that, or Green Mile, that sort of thing, and that brings back things. It doesn't really haunt me, but you think about those sort of things. There's other stories I've done, just people I've interviewed over time that not really haunt me, but I see people fall for the same people. I've done stories on, say it's a contractor that's ripped people off, right? They contact me, say this guy ripped me off. Well, I say, didn't you see all the stories I did? Just Google him, and they didn't. So a lot of times I run into people who I call self-inflicted victims.
Yeah.
Where they need to really do their own homework, and sometimes it's as simple as a Google search.
Right.
And so that doesn't really haunt me, but it bothers me that people don't really do that background, and then it's almost too late after the money's gone.
Yeah. What's your? Oh, got some pizza here. Hey, how's it going?
Wow. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Can I just get a water? That'd be great.
I'll bring water and some over, okay?
I got veggie and.
Oh man, is this part of your podcast?
This
lunch?
Lunch is part of the podcast. So. I got a vegetarian here and
this is fine.
New
right
York
here.
Deluxe.
That's good enough for me.
Let's see. So, how much would you say when you first started? I find it interesting. Like now that people know who you are, have seen Six on Your Side for 43 years. When you first started, would you say it was easier to find stories because now?
Well,
Thank you. Because thank you.
thank you. Actually, it was a little bit harder back then. We didn't have the internet. Didn't have phones you carry around like this. You know, in fact, I carried dimes in my pocket. I don't know if you hear the old, the old adage, dime somebody out.
Yeah.
Well, that goes back to the old days when I was around. You carry around dimes and you use a payphone. Where do you find a payphone anymore? You know? And so it's probably, it's easier, but it's harder in a different way. It's easier because you have the internet, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have just people texting you right and left. You know, and it's immediate. But the problem is it's immediate. You don't have the time you did before to check it out. Before you found out a tip, you had time to check it out because you knew other people didn't know about it because we are a competitive business, you know. Whereas now you gotta work faster because other people could find out about this, or we need to find out about this before it gets to somebody we need to contact, that sort of thing.
Do you? I find it interesting with the internet. I mean, everybody is so quick. Like, so you.
There's always somebody critical of you, but I don't try and. I'll just glance at it. But I just look to see if there's a news tip on there. There's so many. The problem is with your Facebooks, Instagram, and that is that there are people. There's somebody texting me right now, but there are so many people that what I call have keyboard courage.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So there are people who will tell you stuff on Facebook that won't do it face to face.
Right.
And they'll be critical, and sometimes they're just, you know, it bothers me a little bit the fact that they wouldn't do it to my face, you know, or sometimes they hide behind acronyms rather than behind, you know, use their own name and that sort of thing.
Right.
So I can take the criticism. It's just when they do it and they don't really use their names, or they do it without really research on their end, or they just make off the wall comments. They go, why waste the time? And what I try and do on Facebook for the most part is put on there something that's kind of newsy. You know, I don't just, because a lot of people use it for gossip, and that's not really what I want.
Right. Well, go ahead and have a.
Go ahead and keep talking.
I love Zio's, by the way.
It's great. Great pizza. So this is my first podcast. How does this work?
Okay, well, so podcasting, I don't really know how it works because I'm not very good at it. But I started back in 2012, just audio.
Right.
And then now I'm getting text as well. Now I do video podcast on YouTube, and so I'll take all this, match the audio best to the video as I can, and then put it on YouTube for
do some editing then, right?
Yeah, I'll cut down some of my bad questions. So.
We all edit.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say the most rewarding part of being an investigative?
Helping people. Especially now what I do is Six on Your Side, help people get their money back. Mm. It doesn't always happen that way, but I think especially if you get an elderly person who's been scammed on something, if it's somebody locally, you can get some money back for them, which that's very rewarding. I feel like I'm really doing something or exposing something so somebody else doesn't fall for it. You know, and a lot of times people call me and say, "Is this a scam?"
Oh.
Sometimes I can't convince them it's a scam, especially if they get a check in the mail from some bank that doesn't exist, or it's a phony check, and they, oh gosh, my boat has come in, my ship has come in, I got it. It's got to be true, right? It's got to be true, and I know it's not.
Yeah.
And sometimes they have to tell people, go to the bank, and when they come back to you and take all your money because it's phony after it bounces, you know.
Well, I would like you to investigate something for me.
Okay.
I got a phone call a few months ago that I won a free cruise, and I haven't gone on that cruise yet or gotten the offer of the tickets yet for my cruise. So I'd like you to see if they said that they were at Westroads, but I have not seen that. I have not seen my free cruise.
What did
yet.
they want you to do?
They wanted me to give them like my credit card and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't end up doing that.
Yeah, that stuff. That's pretty simple one, you know. But there are people who'll fall for it.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be shocked.
No. Well, you know, the sad thing is, I know a lot of your stories are elderly people that get scammed, and you know, I know everybody is aware of, you know, like the QVCs and these TVs that, you know, it's really sad that it just keeps happening, and I there's no fix to it. Like my grandma,
they're gonna keep
is,
hitting.
you know, is 90 years old, and they sold her. She bought like 8 different blankets that no one needs, 8 George Foreman grills and stuff like that, and there's just no.
Well, to me, what I found is the biggest deterrent to that would be relatives. Yeah. Relatives need to check on the elderly and find out where they're spending their money. I know a lot of senior citizens play it pretty close to the vest. Their independence. They don't want you to know, but you almost have to somehow pry it or trick it out of them. Well, where's your money going? You know, let me see your check account, or where did you spend? You know, have you used your credit card for anything recently? You almost have to interrogate them to find out, so that you can stop that from happening. And the other thing is, I find, is once they fall for it, they'll keep getting hit. Their names get passed around among other scammers who will keep coming back to the same people. They feel what they fell once, they will for another one. So I think they sell their names out there. And that goes where so you got to really be careful.
A couple more questions, because I know you're busy today. But what is the one thing, I guess, what is one thing you can enjoy in the day without having to worry about your phone, worrying about a report or anything? What is one thing you can do and enjoy in your downtime?
Boy, it's tough in downtime because they're usually phones on 24/7. You know, there are a few things. I'll golf. You know, you know, you can't really use your phone when you're golfing. Occasionally, I'll check it though between holes. Unfortunately, watching my son who you played baseball with. You know, he plays a lot of softball now, and he still plays baseball with a traveling team for adults.
Oh.
So we went down to Phoenix. That was kind of fun watching him play against other guys. So we'd still watch my boys, both of them, the other one too, and they both have pretty good careers going now. So and then that's basically it in the downtime. But it's not always downtime. I mean, it's not a 40-hour week. Never has been.
Yeah.
And part of that's my DNA.
Yeah. When do you, I guess, are you able to ever turn off your phone? Or if your battery dies on your phone, how nervous are you?
That can happen.
Yeah.
About the only time I really turn it off is when I'm on a cruise out of the country.
So maybe you were selling me that cruise.
Turn it off and put it in the safe mainly because I don't want to get charges, you know, international charges. But that's about the only time. Otherwise, it's pretty much on. And you know, and my wife gets on me and said, well, you tell people to call you, but when people sometimes call me or text me at 2 a.m, whoops, there's a call there. So, hey, can I call you back? I'll call you right back. Thank you. There's always people calling.
Well, so, yeah, I said a couple more questions. I'm really bad at that. But how do you plan a vacation? Like, can you plan a vacation? Like, because you continually have stories.
Yeah.
Like in the.
Well, and a lot of times what I do is I'll leave stories for them. I'll shoot ahead stories that don't have to go that day, but can go a couple days down the road, and I'll leave it for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's usually how I do it. And also in our business, you really can't take off during the months of February, May, July, or November. Primarily, July's not as big a deal, but because those are sweeps. That's important. This business sweeps are when they send out the diaries to people randomly to see who you're watching. That's how they get ratings. That's how they sell time. And so those are important periods, and they want everybody, all hands on deck for that. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing in this industry. You know, I've never really taken a vacation in a November. I've never taken a vacation in a February or May. You know, July's not so bad, but like I said, but like November, I've never gone anywhere but work because I can't.
Well, Mike, it was an honor to interview you. Thank you for being on. I know you're busy, and thank you very much for coming on and enjoying a nice slice of pizza with me.
Thank you very much. Zio's is great.
Yep.
And I can't wait to see the podcast.
All right. Well,